right, we're coming at you with a bit of a fun episode this week. We were just hopping on. We had a topic we were going to talk about, but then we're like, you know what? We have a lot to catch up on. I figured we'd do another episode of just kind of going through some current events, some stuff that we got going on in life, some stuff that's been on our minds, and just walk you through the updates in what's going on in our lives. So, that being said, what is new with you, Lawrence? Give us the rundown.
What is new? Well, I am definitely enjoying my summer break. It was rain. I think it rained pretty much like all of May, which was very depressing. But the last few days we've had a lot of sunshine, and I have been soaking it in as much as I can. So that
Good.
has been awesome. Of course, I have a little more time to hang out and do some things, and I was actually just searching the internet for another video, and I came across what I obviously called my attention. It was called the sugar fast. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, one of my uh, LinkedIn friends sent me this and was just like, "What the fuck is this?"
Okay, so to be honest with you, the first thing I thought was, oh, okay, just another video on fasting from sugar, meaning like don't eat sugar, right? And I don't even know why I even clicked on it, but I started looking at it and looking at his protocol. Basically, the majority of the diet is eating nothing but sugar. So it was like, all right, buddy, here we go. To lose weight, you're going to eat sugar pretty much all day, every day, which would include fruits, which we love fruits. So definitely eat as much fruit as you want. But and then it was things like eat tons of honey, eat tons of syrups, and candy. That was part of the thing. And I was like, the majority of the week, this is the protocol. Eat as much sugar as you possibly can. And the promises are you're going to start losing weight.
I where do people come up with this genuinely? Like, why? Well, yeah, I honestly like I came like my friend sent me that video and I looked at the thumbnail. I was like, no, I'm not even watching that. Like that just sounds like the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I don't even need to watch. I don't even need to hear the background or information or him trying to describe it like to know that it's just a load of bullshit.
Well, and I almost didn't want to bring it up just because I didn't want to bring attention to it. But we actually are the episode before this, we talked about different types of diets, and whenever whenever a diet becomes big and it becomes popular and people start losing weight on it, what always comes down to is people are they're eating less than they're burning, right? And so the calorie in versus calorie out is where it should be. And so of course they start losing weight. Whether that's, you've seen like the McDonald's diet where some guy eats like nothing but McDonald's and he's like, oh, I lost 10 pounds on this. If he's eating less than he's burning, then yeah, you're going to lose some weight. So the idea would be similar with sugar in a very short time frame, right?
Yeah. I think this is just a good reminder. Don't fall for any of the fads or any of the trendy diets, or especially something like this. Like, if it sounds, I don't even want to say like too good to be true, because like it doesn't even sound good, but if it sounds like, oh, like some quick fix, don't do it, especially if you're eating a bunch of candy and sugar.
Well, and I think even with my kids in my class, sometimes we'll talk about. I have kids that will be like, I just don't like that much candy. I don't want to eat too much because they know how they feel afterwards and and it does to them. And they'll be honest with you. Whenever I have candy, like I just go nuts and so yeah, you're right. Like not even if it's too good to be true. If it just sounds like it's probably crazy, it probably is.
Definitely is. In this case, yeah, don't do this. Anyone listening, do not do this. We just thought it was funny and interesting that this is the type of stuff that's cycling around and that like authorities in the space are promoting that kind of stuff. But yeah, do not do it.
Do not do it. It is not Mackenzie and Laurence approved.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you another thing I did see that I actually kind of liked. At least I liked the idea behind it. I don't really like the name, so I stumbled across this today. It's called the Hot Girl Walk. Have you heard of this one?
Okay, well, I'm not sure what you're referring to specifically, but like there's a whole trend of like just a hot girl walk, and that's just when you just get out and like walk, and girls are calling it like a hot girl walk and just like making it a trendy thing, and like there's groups around it and stuff. So like I know of that, but I don't know if that's like what you saw or what you're referring to.
Maybe. So the idea is, I guess, it is supposed to be like community based. So
Mm,
you do walk. I guess women walk with other women, and they kind of have it broken down to like it's a 4 mile walk, and they want you to focus on three things while you're walking. And this is where I thought it was actually pretty cool. And I thought you could take away this and just apply it to anyone's life, really. So the first thing was, while you're walking for the first mile or so, think about things that you're grateful for.
mm.
And it's a really good opportunity to kind of just take your mind off all the stressors of the day and recognize the really good things in life. And I love that. And we've talked about this before, how, a lot of times when we pray, the first thing we'll do, or if we're journaling, first thing we'll do is we'll acts of gratitude, right? We'll praise God, or we'll think about all the blessings in our life. And I think that'd be a great thing, whether you're walking by yourself and thinking about those things, or whether you're walking with family, friends, or in a community like this. I think that'd be an amazing thing to focus on as you start off on your walk. The second thing, so I guess around mile two or a half or whatever, would be your goals and how you're going to achieve them. And so you're supposed to think about like all the previous achievements and let yourself be proud. So translate to what we always talk about is celebrate all those wins. Celebrate the wins, small and big, and all the things you've accomplished. And then start thinking about what's next for you. And I thought that was really cool, especially after you kind of transition from thinking about all the things you're grateful for, which hopefully you're also thinking about all the wins you've had and all the great things that you've accomplished. And then you start thinking about, okay, what's next for me? Like, what are the next things that I can do? And so I thought that was pretty cool too. And then the last one is where I might tweak it a little bit. According to the website, it said the last mile or so, you want to think about how hot you are. And the way I read it was, okay, what about this would be a good time to kind of boost confidence, right? So you're kind of thinking about all the gratitudes, all the amazing things, all the achievements and the goals, and then use that to kind of boost your confidence, right? And hopefully just reflecting on all that, you start realizing, hey, you know what? I'm a pretty awesome person. There's a lot of really good things that I'm doing, and whether you translate to that, I'm hot, that's fine. Whatever, whatever you want to think about it. If that helps you out, that's fine. I mean, it's probably a marketing tool. Obviously, it's going to stand out, right? But I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it'd be a good little confidence booster. And again, whether you're walking in a community of other women or of men or whoever you're walking with, whether it's by yourself, I think that'd be a great way. It's almost kind of like a mental way to journal, right? To start thinking about all the things you're grateful for, think about all the things that you've accomplished and achieved, think about your goals that you want to do, and then just kind of, celebrate those big wins and, as well as all the small wins, and just think about how well things are going, and what you can do kind of going forward in life.
Yeah, was this so when you found this, is this like a local thing in your area, or is this just something in general?
Oh, I don't even know. I didn't even look that far. I found it somewhere, and I pulled up the website, and I kind of looked at like what the basis of it was. I have not heard anything local,
Mm.
but so I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I know they have these like hot girl walk movements like kind of all over. I know here in Tampa and St. Pete they call it like something a little bit different. They have like girls who walk, and so like there's all sorts of little clubs sort of like that. But I do really like this concept and the way that it's broken out, just with the gratitude, going over your goals, like the plan to achieve that, and then the wins, the accomplishments. I feel like those three things are so key and it really do build confidence and really shift your perspective on what you see and how you approach day-to-day life. And so I think it's really powerful, and I like just having an intention for going out on your walk and kind of being able to channel that and reframe your mindset in that way. So I think that's a really good tool that a lot of people can take away, even if it's not a hot girl walk or whatever you want to call it. But I think that having that intention as you go through your walk, kind of like a moving meditation in a sense, or a moving journal. So I think that's a really cool idea.
yeah, and going back to what you just said about being intentional, I think confidence isn't built by just doing whatever you want and all of a sudden you have confidence. Like I think you really have to be intentional about building yourself up and building that confidence up. And you could be doing all the amazing things in the world, but if you don't feel that yourself, if you don't recognize that yourself, you don't think about that yourself, then you're not going to have great confidence. And I've I've experienced that. I feel like, I had a lot of lack of confidence when I was younger, and someone could point out all the amazing things that were going on in my life, but I wasn't recognizing, or I wasn't attributing it to the things that I'm doing. And instead, I focused on all the negative things, or the things that weren't working out well for me. And so my self-esteem wasn't where it should have been. And it really didn't get to the point where it is now until I really started recognizing and celebrating those smaller wins, and celebrating the big wins, and saying, hey, you know what? You've done some pretty cool things, and let's not focus on all the negative things. Let's focus on the really good things that are happening in life. And again, going back to focusing on all the blessings that God's provided for me. And that's really, really helped me turn that corner into having much better confidence in life.
I aggressively agree with that. I was also like struggled with confidence and just insecurity when I was kind of at my rock bottom. And I wholeheartedly believe the most impactful way, the most powerful way, the number one thing you need to do to build confidence is keeping the promises to yourself and starting with the small wins. And when you commit to something, you follow through, you get it done. And in achieving those wins and like stacking them over time and building on that, that's how you build the confidence. You build that trust in yourself that you're someone who follows through, that commits and then gets done whatever task that you set for yourself. Because when you start to make promises that you say you're going to do something and then you don't, you're degrading your self worth and confidence each time. And so I think really the biggest thing is if you struggle with confidence, want to build that up, and just in general, a good practice is keep the promises to yourself and to others. Like I stand by that. I think that is the biggest thing that helped rebuild mine too and get me to the place I'm at now. Now it's one of the core values that I live my life by.
Yeah. So whether you're going on a hot girl walk or not, I love those ideas. I love the focus
Yeah.
of it and what it's all about.
Yeah, and even the keeping promises to yourself, like that's such an important part to me. And that was actually a part of my speech too. But I do have an update on the speech situation. I'm not even sure the best way to go about this, but as I'm sure everyone knows, I was doing or prepping for a speech over the last few months, got everything pretty locked in. Like I was actually feeling really good about it. And unfortunately, the event basically long story short, there's obviously a lot more context behind it, but I'm not going to get into all the details, but basically the event isn't turning out how it was originally promised, and it's basically things have fallen through, and I'm no longer going to be doing it, which is unfortunate. Like it's been such a internal battle in my head, and just also just a bummer because I oddly the weird thing is I was kind of excited for it. Like dare I say, I don't know who I am. But like I actually felt really confident in my speech, and like I actually felt confident that I could go up there and do it. Like it may not have been amazing, but I actually felt really confident and was looking forward to doing that and proving it to myself. So it is unfortunate that it didn't end up working out with them and the setup and everything. Yeah, despite that going the way it did, I think that it happened for a reason. I think that the way I'm seeing it is yes, I devoted an absurd amount of time and energy into this and prepping for this, but I don't want to see that as all for nothing or a waste because I think just the confidence and alone and just how I feel now because like before every time I thought about it I would literally break down crying. And now here I am like kind of oddly looking forward to it and like knowing that I can do it. I think that alone is huge in building that confidence. And just I think it was just a good skill for me to lean into and just a good practice of me building out the speech and practicing the speech and working on my speaking. And so I think and it doesn't hurt to have like a really solid 20-minute speech that I can bust out at any point if I have another opportunity in the future. So I feel like there's a lot of good things that came from it, even though it didn't work out quite the way it was supposed to. I think it's working out the way that God intended or whatever the plan is. Like I'm just going to trust that and trust that new doors are going to open and that this is the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset. A lot of times things don't happen the way we want it to in life, right? And it's easy to look back and go, "Oh, what a wasted time or what a wasted energy or I did all of this and nothing came out of it." But if you really go back and look, hey, yeah, it took a lot of time, a lot of energy, but what good came out of it? I think you would probably admit, right, that even though you're not going to be able to get on stage and talk to these people and probably make a really good impact and difference in their lives, it was probably still worth it for you, right? to plan and prepare for all this?
Yes, I would say like that's the way I'm gonna look at it. Like if I think too much about it, I feel like I'll get in my head about that because like the amount I've sacrificed for this is seriously like insane. It's yeah, I put so much of my life on hold. So like I don't even want to calculate how many hours I put into this. Like it's crazy. So if I think about it too much, I think that'll like kind of get in my head. But yeah, ultimately it's all worth it. I know it's happening for a reason and it got me to where I am now and just in a different mindset around stuff. So yeah, I do believe that.
I have a funny story because I can kind of relate to what you're talking about, like how like you were really nervous at first, and then you had it all planned, prepared, like you're ready to rock and roll, and then you're not able to do it. So when I my second year teaching, they HR had actually asked if I would give like a really short, it's probably like a 5 minute speech to the new teachers,
Mm.
and so I was like, oh my gosh, I was the same way. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that, but I was like, I don't know if I can do that, like stand up in front of everybody. But I sat down and I played around with some, and I actually came up with like a speech that I thought was really good, had some really good stories that related to my kids, and I was able to take those stories and relate it to like teaching and being leaders and all this stuff. And I just happened to be going on a trip to Orlando and flying like the day before that I had to do that speech. And so I just had my oldest daughter at the time, and I think she was like 2 years old, and we were going to the airport, and she had to go. We were walking down to the gate, and she had to go to the bathroom. I was like, "Yeah, sure, take your time. We got plenty of time." And I think we had like 15 minutes, something like that. And we get there, and I look at the gate, and it was the one I thought anyway, and it was closed. The door was closed, and I was like, "Oh, that I thought that was our gate." And I was kind of looking around, and I was like, "That is our gate. That's really weird." And there's this guy standing there, and there's some other lady like going nuts. She's like yelling at him and panicking and going crazy. And so I kind of waited for her to calm down a second. I was like, "I think I'm supposed to be getting on this gate, on this flight. Can open the doors real quick?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean no? There's like, I don't know, like 15 minutes until the flight takes off." And he was like, "We close the doors. Once we close the doors, it's done. No one can get on the flight." And I was like, "Are you serious?" They're sitting there on the and he was like, "Yes." And it was actually this guy was like jacked up. He was like huge, gigantic dude. But the lady that and she had done the same thing. She'd got there like a minute before us, and she wasn't able to get on the flight either. And now she was going crazy, like she was screaming, yelling, and I was like, "All right, well, let me see what I can do." And so I went up to the little desk there, and I was talking to the lady, and it literally the plane sat there for like 15 minutes while I was talking to this lady, trying to figure out plans. And at the time, it was an airline that only flew out to Knoxville like once a day.
Mm.
So she's like, "Well, I can put you on the next flight, which is tomorrow." And I was like, "Well, okay." So there's nothing I could do about it. So we ended up going back to the same resort we were. I mean, we ended up having a great night. I mean, had a fun extra day vacation, but I had to call the lady who was like, "Yeah, you won't believe this probably, but I missed my flight and I won't be able to do the speech tomorrow." And she was like, "Uh-huh, sure. All right, bye." But I was thinking, man, and I don't know. Maybe it was just because I was like, "Oh, why not an extra day vacation?" Maybe if I had to go somewhere like super important or whatever, I might have been upset about it. But yeah, when you talk about this, but I was kind of appreciative that I was able to write that speech, and I thought it really went really well. And I was actually kind of pumped up, and I had that confidence to do that. I don't know who knows, maybe I would have bombed it, but at least I was excited about doing that. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny. Well, for one, I feel like you obviously like speak in front of kids as a teacher. Like is it so is
way different.
really
It is way different. I think I don't know. One, I think they're very attentive and they listen really well to what I'm saying, and they get so excited, and they love my stories. You tell a story to another adult and they're like, "Yeah, whatever." And I'll tell a story to them and they're like, their eyes are like glued on me, and they're like, "What happened next?" And then later on in the year they're like, "Tell us that story again." And they
Aw.
get so excited, and I think a lot of it's just that. And I want to teach them and I want to present it to them, and I think I have fun. And I guess it's just I take away that fear that what if I say something dumb, or what if I say something that makes me sound ridiculous, or because they don't care. The
Mm.
kids don't care. If I say something dumb, they laugh at it, or they make it, they're silly, or they'll say the same type of thing, or whatever. And then But when I get in front of adults, it's like, oh, like, they're looking at me. They expect me to be very intelligent and say the right things. And I've gotten a lot better. I remember the first like parent conference that I had with all the parents in the room. I was so nervous. Like I was like pacing, and I had like, of course I had the PowerPoint up on the board and everything, but I was just extremely nervous. And it's gotten better every year. Now I don't care. I get in front of them, but I still get a little nervous.
Hmm.
And I think it's just again, they're adults, and I want to present myself as someone that they can trust and have that I can be a good teacher, and then they know that I'm going to take care of their kids. And so I think it's probably that too that makes me a little more nervous. But yeah, it's way different talking to the kids for sure.
I mean, yeah, like it's partially surprising, but also that makes complete sense. It's just the extra pressure and just the different dynamic and less judgment. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's funny though.
What's funny too is I actually get a lot of the opposite. They're like, I talk to adults and work with adults all day long, hundreds and thousands. I don't know how you deal with 20 kids. Like, I could never do it. So it's definitely a different world.
Yeah, and different types of people, I guess. I feel, and to be fair, you are a good storyteller. I like your stories too. All the ones you tell on the podcast too. I always dig it.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, the kids love it. So and maybe that's why I enjoy talking to them, because I tell the stories, and I really try, and that's I think one reason why I connect well with them is I really try to connect it to the lesson that we're talking about, or the topic that we're discussing, and it just helps them to relate well to me and then to whatever we're talking about too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even what you said too, going back to the last topic, just like controlling what you can control almost. Like even though you missed your flight and everything, or even though this fell through, it's like something good always comes from it. And I think that mentality is so important too, is just finding the silver lining, everything. There's a lot of value that I got out of this. It's all happening for a reason. So I think it's harder, of course, when you're in the moment to find that type of stuff, especially when you're going through shit, but there's always good coming out of every situation. I think once you learn to find and seek out the good and the benefits that are coming from it, then it's very freeing because nothing is wasted. You don't feel like the victim anymore, and you can just move forward in like a more healthy, positive mindset.
Yeah, definitely much more healthy, positive mindset for sure. Thinking about vacations, obviously we're in summertime when this is going to be released, and I was just thinking about people that I will see like on vacation, and I obviously get a huge range of people, right? And I'm probably I'm pretty observant person in general, but I think even more so on vacation, like because I'm a little more laid back and I have less things on my mind, and so I'm just really aware of the people around me, and so of course being in the health and fitness field and industry, like I really focus on those people that obviously you can tell take care of themselves. And I was thinking about like what is similar among all these people and the things that I do. And it occurred to me is that I feel like we all kind of bring a little bit of our daily routine with us on vacation. And so I was thinking about like, obviously it's a very different environment, atmosphere. You're going to be doing different things that you normally probably wouldn't do. You're probably going to be eating out a lot. And so that's all very different. But little things that one, I think, and probably I did just because it makes me feel a little more comfortable with change and everything like that. But little things like, for example, with me, there's a couple things I always do. One, I always bring my shakes with me. We've talked about this before. I bring my protein powder, I bring my creatine, and a lot of times I'll bring bananas, or I'll get bananas while we're there, and I'll make a shake. And it doesn't matter. Even if I go and have breakfast or go to a coffee shop, I still have my shake. Make sure I get all the protein in, and then I don't, then I eat whatever I want. I always make sure I'm super active, so I always get tons of steps. And then I like getting hotels that either like are on the beach, so I can walk around a lot, and I'll walk like up and down the beach like all day long, especially in the morning or in the evening. And then, or I'll get a hotel that's like downtown, and because I love walking around and just kind of like exploring downtown, so you get tons of steps in. And then I try to get a workout in every day, and I'm not like going for PRs here. I'm not trying for huge muscle gains or like that. I'm basically I want to keep that routine going. I always feel better, more relaxed, have more energy after that workout. And it's basically just kind of sending that message to my body. Hey, I want to preserve this muscle. And like I said, I just feel better afterwards. So that just kind of, I was just something I was thinking about. And I recognize that a lot of these people, they always bring a little bit of the routine with them that helps them just kind of keep that solid foundation.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway too for anyone who's traveling this summer, which is a lot of people. Obviously, going on vacation, going on trips, or even business trips, is just find those little bits of your normal routine that you can implement. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. It doesn't need to be perfect, but find something to keep more of that normalcy to keep you on track, and just continue to stack those small wins like we always talk about. I feel like I structure mine the same. Like I never really thought about it intentionally like that. It's just like those are kind of the non-negotiable. Those are basics. So I always like to incorporate those too. So yeah, for me, it's the training as well. I usually won't train as much, or like obviously it would kind of be more like a deload type situation, or I'll do some more fun stuff if there's like random equipment or whatever it is. But just getting in some movement, especially for the mental benefits. And then lots of steps, walking anywhere I can, just maintaining the hitting my step targets. And another one that I do personally is just the journaling and gratitude, just because that's a non-negotiable. So especially if I like in the past, if I go to the beach, I mean, now that I live here, it's not like I typically don't vacation as much to the beach, but wherever I am, I'll just make sure I'll go like watch the sunrise, sunset, and journal, and just make sure that I'm keeping up with that. So just some of those main staple habits that are like key to my mental and physical well-being. Like those are always stuff that I implement on trips or vacations too.
Yeah, like you said, it's not something that I think about and plan out. Like, oh, I have to make sure I do all this stuff while I'm there. All my planning is in the city that I'm doing and all the things that I can do at that city. It's just like you said, it's just part of who I am, and it makes me feel better and more comfortable, and it's what I like to do. I feel much better when I get those certain parts of my routine in every day.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of travel, I know the other, I believe I mentioned this on the podcast a couple weeks back, is just like my hormones were kind of out of whack from my Egypt trip and just I was feeling super fatigued and off and everything. So I ended up actually getting some labs done too, which is probably well overdue anyway. I think it's always good to get that type of stuff done periodically. But I actually got my results back today, and so I thought it was like, okay, I want to say it's interesting, but I know it's kind of what I expected.
Yeah, but share. We want to hear it. We want to know.
um, like basically most of the things look normal. Like I'm pretty dialed in, so she was like impressed with a lot of the stats and stuff. But some of my hormone numbers were off, especially just like estrogen and testosterone were just not at the levels that they want to be. But she was like, it's like everything else seems normal, like your diet, everything, like so it's purely just stress. Like what is causing you so much stress? Why was your cortisol so high first thing in the morning? I'm like,
I wonder why.
yeah, so I kind of knew that was the case, but I just thought it was funny like getting that feedback too.
But you like to hear that feedback. You like to confirm, even if you think you know the answer to it. It's nice for someone else to back that up.
Yeah. And I feel like I've been working on the stress too. Like I'm definitely in a much better position too. It's just crazy how much that type of stuff affects you when you're just in that chronically stressed state. Like she like asked like, why is it so hot? Like why are you so stressed first thing in the morning? Like yeah, I wake up with immediate stress and anxiety. That's just what gets me going in the morning.
So what have you done then? You said you've been working on it. Is there something that you're doing in the morning that is helping with that?
No, I just mean in general because I went on a big hormone kick and just a big stress reduction kick. It was honestly probably like almost like 8, 12 months ago now, but like because it was really bad. Like I was burning myself out. I was just like basically killing myself with just beating myself into the ground, not prioritizing sleep, and just stress was through the roof. So like I'm in a much like I feel a lot more stable and chill day to day. So like I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot, but I know it's still like there's still that chronic stress and some of it's unavoidable just with work and business stuff. But yeah, basically, biggest thing was just for me personally, it was pulling back on training. Like when I went through that big phase, it was pulling back on training to give my body more recovery. I was eating more. That was after I went through a little cut too. So I was just like eating more foods, prioritizing more fat too for hormones. And then sleep was a big one, and because that was one I struggled with. Still something I struggle with, to be fair, but it's definitely come a long way, especially now that I have my Oura ring and can track it too and see more of the data. But yeah, really prioritizing that 7.5, 8 hours and making that non-negotiable made a world of a difference. And then just overall reducing stress in the sense like I already do all my normal habits as far as like the journaling, meditation, prayer, that kind of stuff to help on that side. But it was more of taking load off of my plate as far as work to to a certain extent. Obviously, some of the stuff you like can't mitigate, but for me, I was just setting too high of expectations and basically putting too much on my plate. And then once I see it on my list, I'm like, I need to get it done no matter what. And so then that's when I like burn myself out. I sacrifice sleep, and then everything else starts to tank because I'm like, I need to hit these things. So I'm like, all right, I just need to put less on my plate and stick to the basics. And then if I'm not able to get to it, allow myself to move it to the next day or like find more balance with that. So it's more of giving myself grace on that and reducing my workload and learning to be okay with that and not like go go go, because that's what I love to do, and I love to take on more and hit all my targets and stuff, but at a certain point it's not realistic and it becomes very unhealthy.
Yeah, I think it's crazy how like when you have a lot of the stressors going on, you can like wake up and immediately like it hits you. It's almost like just like your mind's waiting. You're like, all right, body's up. Boom. Here's what you need to stress out about. So I heard this. This was actually it was like one of the first podcasts I listened to or something. But and it was sounded super cheesy and I almost didn't do it. I was like, I'll try it just for fun. So he was like, when you wake up, go in the mirror. First thing you do, put on a big smile and tell God he's awesome or something along
Mm-hmm.
those lines, right? So I was like, I'll try that. That sounds really cheesy, but I'll do that. I'll do that every day and make that a habit. And I've been doing it for years now,
Wow.
and so I'll go in there and I do. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'm super happy, and then sometimes there's some stressors in my mind, but no matter what's going on, before I do anything, I look in the mirror, I smile really big, and I'm like, today's gonna be an awesome day. God's awesome. He's got it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it just sets that tone for, hey, you know what? Let's start off with a real positive mindset and let's think about how good this day could be.
Mm. I love that. No, that stuff really does work. Even I always have the motto, people probably see me post all the time. It's a beautiful day to be alive. I basically tell myself that every day, and maybe not verbally, but I think that would be useful too. Or I used to say like, just today's gonna be a great day, and just in saying that, like you're basically manifesting that. You're creating that. You're getting yourself in that mindset, or even just like you said, hyping yourself up in the mirror, smiling in the mirror. Like that stuff really does make a difference, even though it sounds cheesy or like weird at first. But yeah, try it. It works.
Well, one thing I've seen a lot of lately is the comment like you see what you want to see in life,
Mm.
right? And so if you see all the negative things in life, all the things that are really tough, that's what your mind's going to focus on. And it's the
Mm.
same thing with what you hear, right? If you hear you're saying negative things all the time, that's what your body and your mind is going to start believing. So the more you can look for the positives, the more you can speak it out loud and speak it into truth, it's pretty powerful.
Hmm. I always say what you focus on expands, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. All right. And then, I was also thinking about, I'm working out at different times of the day now. So in the summers, I work out in the morning and I love working out in the mornings. It's just something cool about it. But we've talked about this before. There's the, different groups of people that work out at different times. And there's always the same people that are always there in the morning, the morning people. And there are people that come in the middle of the day, and there's afternoon, after work people. And the gym that I go to, I've worked at all different kinds, and they're all the groups are great. I enjoy talking to all the people, but I feel like in the morning it's a little more laid back, like almost kind of like maybe just where they are in their life, or they're starting their day off that way, or maybe the stressors haven't hit them yet, or whatever it may be. There is a little more conversation going on, it's a little more laid back workouts. I feel like people are talking more and socializing. And I thought this was really cool. This guy that I know, he said, hey, I'm just happy today. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I love hearing that. I don't know why he was just came out to me out of the blue and told me that, but I said, that's awesome, man. Just anything going on, or in particular, he was like, no. He goes, I just like coming to this gym. I have a lot of friends here. I like seeing them. And I just thought it was really cool because it really didn't have anything to do with working out or anything. It was a place where, he came all the time, but there's people there they like socializing with. Obviously, he felt very welcome there and very comfortable there. And just another reason why I love the gym. I just think it's the coolest place to be.
Yeah, I love that. That's so wholesome.
It was, it
It's,
was. Part of me he thought he was trying to be a little bit silly, but in reality, I think he was just being honest. Like, I really enjoy coming here because I see people that I enjoy being with.
I feel the same.
I know
Yeah.
there's I'm sorry, there's moods that I get sometimes where I just kind of like want to do my workout and like want to be in the zone, but I definitely have a more enjoyable session when I talk to at least a few people while I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, same. No, yeah, of course. When I go, I'm locked in. I'm like ready to grind and like put in my heavy dubstep and just like go. But yeah, like especially with the gym homies, the ones that you see there all the time. Like even if it's just a quick conversation or just saying what's up or just even waving, I feel like it just makes the experience so much better. You have that sense of community there, especially if you go at a certain time every day and you see the same people. I feel like the morning crew is probably the most consistent. I feel like in general, just because like everyone's getting up, going in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I feel like it can be a little bit crazier. There's a lot more people, but yeah, I definitely can relate to that.
Well, and it feels pretty good too when people are like, "Hey, where were you last week? I didn't even see you here," and you're like, "Oh, I was on vacation," but whatever it may be, people recognize that and they're looking for you, even if they don't talk to you much. They're like, "Oh, I noticed you weren't here. Everything okay?" So I think that's pretty cool.
I freaking love when that happens. Yeah, that's when you know you made it. When the gym homies are concerned when you don't show up one day for the workout.
Yeah, exactly. You missed yesterday. What happened?
For real, no, like that happens to me all the time. Or like before when I started doing more volleyball and I wasn't like going to the gym as regularly because I was going and training volleyball instead. And just some people like I never really talked to, they'd be like, "Oh, like where were you yesterday?" Or like, "Was everything good? Like I haven't seen you as much." I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I think that's cool. I really like it. Like you said, it's a real big community, and people really look out for each other.
Yeah, and I think people like a lot of people get intimidated by the gym, and I think it's reasonable, especially when it's a new environment and you're not fully comfortable and confident in what you're doing. But that just reinforces the gym community really is one of the most supportive environments out there. Everyone there is there to grow and improve, and they want to see you winning. They want to support you, and everyone's been in your shoes too, where they're lost and insecure and not sure what they're doing, and so everyone there is ready to help and supportive and just wants to see you winning. So for anyone listening that's a little bit nervous or has that gym anxiety, just know it's I think one of the most supportive communities out there.
Yeah, it really is. And like you said, a lot of people go in there and they're very nervous about, they're like, oh my gosh, everyone in here knows what they're doing. And I don't even know what I'm doing. But it really is. You ask anyone in there, and the majority of the people are more than happy to help you out in any possible way.
Hmm. Yeah. Speaking of volleyball, I have another volleyball tournament coming up this weekend.
Yes. All right. Tell us about it.
There's not much to talk about. I think I'm just like I think it's just gonna be a fun experience. I'm actually going up a level two compared to the one I did last time. So I don't know how we're gonna do. I really have no clue. But I think it's just fun to kind of. I feel like it gives you something to train for. Like I'm doing all this volleyball training, like sometimes like 4 or 5 times a week. So I'm like, it's good to have something to train for and like a new challenge and just be able to kind of test my skills and see where I'm at too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have a lot of fun playing, but you definitely want to have like a competitive environment to where you can train from. Like, all right, now we have a chance to, have fun and go up against other teams. So is this, this is 2-on-2, right?
Hmm.
All right, and it's are all these tournaments local?
Yeah, I think they have them all over. Like it's through AVP, but yeah, the ones I'm doing are local and so at the beach. So like vibes are immaculate. Water's right there in between games. Just go jump in. So it's really nice.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, good long beach day. Good community too. They're basically they do men's and women's on Saturday and then co-ed on Sunday. So I'm playing Sunday with my partners, but then I'm gonna go on Saturday too and just watch some of the guys and some of my other friends who are playing on that day too. So it'll be a good long weekend event in volleyball.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
of course, you got to bring home the trophy, right?
of course. Yes, that's the plan at least.
I mean, that's always got to be the goal.
Yeah.
If we're gonna play, you gotta play to win, right?
I always joke around with my partner. I'm like, all right, here's the game plan. We're just gonna win. We don't need any other strategy, just win.
No other strategy, no other thoughts. That's all we need to do here is just win.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Well, anything else going on in your life? Anything else that you want to share with the people?
No, I talked about my hot girl walk and the sugar fast and all the other stuff that is blowing up my feed. So
Well, cool. I hope that everyone enjoyed this as much as I do. I feel like it's always fun just to like riffing, talking about random topics that come up. But if you guys want more support and resources, come join us in our private school community. We got all sorts of training, tools, support to help you build habits that actually work for your body and your lifestyle. And so we'll link that in the show notes. And yeah, we just appreciate everyone tuning in. If you like these episodes, let us know and feel free to share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And we will catch you all next week.